to the bold analysis. The scenes of that explosive current hospital presser by the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, and I'm intentional about it because as things stand now, Rigathi Gachagua is still the Deputy President until the said Kindiki is sworn in. The scenes are not looking good, both for William Ruto, Rigathi Gachagua, and the Republic of Kenya. I watched the 21-minute statement by the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, and I think I was a bit broken when I saw the children of Rigathi and the wife struggling to hold their tears when they were now making that ungracious exit from the political scene. The symbolic exit of the Deputy President. Two critical messages are actually teething for me from that message. If you analyze the 21-minute clip, there are two messages that Rigathi Gachagua relayed to the country. And that is actually giving us a bearing, the riddle around the impeachment. They unpacks, those two messages unpacks the riddle behind that impeachment. In fact, the first message is attempted food poisoning.
Finally, I want to tell the people of Kenya that I don't feel safe. And for the first time, let me say that on 30th of August in Kisumu, undercover security agents entered my room in Kisumu and bagged it, and one of them tried to poison my food, but we detected it and we were able to escape the scheme. I was supposed to be killed through poisoning. On 3rd of September in Nyeri, another team from the National Intelligence Service came to Nyeri and tried to poison food that was meant for me and Kikuyu Council of Elders. I did report this matter to the National Intelligence Service, and the officers who were assigned to my office, I asked them to leave because I felt I was not safe. After the two attempts to assassinate me through food poisoning failed, it is when this impeachment motion was hatched. When my security was withdrawn here, officers from the National Intelligence Service have been hovering in every room, in every compound here, to an extent that I had to call my wife and my children to come and stay in my room, just in case they get entry to my room or compromise the people who are treating me. So Rigathi Gachagua and his family feel very exposed because these people have tried to kill us before. They have now tried to get us out of office. So I asked President William Ruto, my brother, I helped you to be president. Leave me alone. Leave my children alone. Do whatever you want, but let me live. Let me look after my children. You can do whatever you want with the country, but allow me to live. Because I was there for you when you needed somebody to be there for you. When you are in trouble and you needed a man who could stand with you, I stood with you, with my family. You have paid us in kind by being so cruel and vicious against us. We are simple people. We are a very small family. Let us be. Do whatever you want, but please, Mr. President, I beg you, don't kill us. Don't kill my children. You have caused me enough pain for the last 1 year. Please, leave me alone. Let me be. God will take care of me. I don't have to have security. I don't have to have drivers. I don't have to have cars. Please allow me to have my peace, if nothing else. And remember, I was there for you when you needed a man to be there for you. Let the courts of law uphold and protect our Constitution. I ask the Chief Justice, Martha Koome, to live true to the fidelity of our Constitution, to make sure that this is a country of the rule of law, to allow the court process to take place and ensure that this process is not nugatory. There are orders asking that Rigathi Gachagua remain in office until this matter is heard and determined. Let it be. Thank you very much.
Just a second, please.
I don't want to
Leave him alone. Leave him alone. What's wrong with you?
For the first time, Rigathi is coming out that there was an attempt for him to be poisoned. I have seen this getting trivialized from different quarters. And when I was just listening, I was asking, why didn't he report? He has actually confirmed in that video that he reported the matter to the NIS. So this food poisoning, what he's saying that impeachment was the last tool of making sure his exit from the political scene after unsuccessful attempts of food poisoning. I will not belabor this much because I think it's subject to a very high profile scrutiny. And the reason why I said the things are not looking good, the place where Rigathi Gachagua is saying there was an attempt for him to be poisoned, the context, number one, is during the Nyanza tour. Why did it have to be Nyanza? And I'm looking at it this way. If whether Rigathi is honest about it or it's also a narrative being developed, why does it have to be Nyanza? That scene is very disturbing because you need to remember that the Luo Nyanza recently, just some 5 months ago, lost the CDF General Francis Ogola. And so, if that would be a setup, and I want you to just imagine, if something was to happen to Rigathi Gachagua during the Nyanza tour, can you try to look at the wider picture? What kind of shape the country would have taken? So the reason I'm saying it's not looking fine is Nyanza. And it's a time that they have that broad-based administration. Of course, he's saying during the Wandai, and you see the way those MPs, some of those Nyanza MPs were lecturing Rigathi. The second one is Mount Kenya, Nyeri, and the food was to be prepared so that he can eat to the Council of Elders. When those elderly members of the society, they hear over the radio that Rigathi Gachagua is saying that there was an attempt for their food to be poisoned, and so what will they think about it? And I want us to, and the reason I want us to be very objective in this is this. Me and you, we can subject Rigathi Gachagua's statement or that attempted poisoning to a second thought. We can critique, we can question it. But you think that the people down there in tiny villages in Nyeri, are they going to question it? There is a high temptation of them believing Rigathi's word as the exact account of what happened. And you need to take cognizance that Rigathi have never gone public about it. And instead he said he went to speak to, he reported to NAS about it. The second message is the cabinet fallout.
The people of the region where I come from, the Mount Kenya region, trusted him. In fact, as we were preparing to go to office, nobody else trusted him. Musalia Mudavadi demanded that they must sign an MOU with him, which they did. Moses Wetangula demanded that they must sign an MOU with him, which they did. Amason Kingi demanded the same. Alfred Mutua, everybody else. I'm the only man who trusted him. Verbally, because we are Christians, we used to go to church together. And as a Christian, I believed a fellow Christian that he would never betray me or my people. For the last 1 year, it's been very difficult for me. But I'm a very persevering man, very enduring. And what happened on Thursday is a culmination of continuous persecution and stress for a year. And when I look at it, probably it is history repeating itself. That President William Ruto wanted to take me the route President Daniel Arap Moi took Kenneth Matiba. He pushed Matiba up to getting a stroke and eventually dying. When I look to what the president is doing to me, especially now when I'm in hospital, crippling me, treating me like an animal, I think he wanted to take me the Matiba route. But God is gracious. It didn't happen that way. I hear many of his people are calling here asking whether I'm dead, whether I'll survive, whether I'll recover. They were celebrating. It's the most unfortunate thing that has ever happened in this country. That you can be so vicious to a man who helped you to be president. And the crime of this man, telling you the truth, don't evict people without compensation, Mr. President. Mr. President, don't overtax people. You are killing them, you are killing their businesses. Don't force a housing program on people. If people do not want these houses, don't force them. My only problem with the president is just being truthful, because nobody else can tell him. The framers of the 2010 Constitution wanted a deputy president who is elected as a buffer who can stand for the people. The charity we are being treated for, too, is get rid of an elected deputy president and appoint a control freak. A fellow you appoint who cannot ask a question, who cannot say anything. And I'm sure if they succeed, he'll be asked to sign an undated resignation letter so that in case he starts asking questions, he can just be told to resign. But the framers of the 2010 Constitution were very clear in their mind why they wanted a deputy president who is elected. I'm the only man in the cabinet and in the whole government who can stand up to President William Ruto and tell him, hey brother, this is not right. This Adani thing is not good for the country. There's too much corruption, Mr. President. This how thing is being forced down on the people of Kenya. And they don't like it. Please don't force it down on them. You know, situations where medical equipment that was being supplied by Kenyans to the Ministry of Health now has been given to one single Asian. I say, Mr. President, this is not right. We are killing our business people. So, as we speak, I say that my lawyers are in court. We have faith in our judiciary. And I requested that, according to the rules of natural justice, I be accorded an opportunity to be heard in the Senate. You remember I presented myself to the National Assembly and defended myself. In the Senate, I was there day one, and even when the Speaker asked me to sit down to listen to the charges, I decided to stand up to face my accusers. I was there the following day. I was ready for cross-examination. The 11 counts is nothing but malice and fiction. It was a political game by the president to get rid of me. And looking at it, I don't think the president had any intention of ever working with me. I think he just needed me to help him win the election because of my mobilization capacity and the faith that the Mount Kenya region has in me.
And that tone is very critical when he's saying that there are things that the president is doing wrong. He will face the president in cabinet. He's the only person who could face the president in cabinet and tell him this is wrong and this is right. Now this points to, this also exposes something. That if it is part of what has caused that acrimony between Ruto and Rigathi, why do you need a principal assistant? Is a principal advisor. And what is an advisory? Must advisory be in conformity with what you think? No. What Rigathi Gachagua is simply telling the country that William Ruto do not want someone who challenges him. And one of the things that is there is that we are going to have a deputy president of yes sir, yes sir, yes sir. That is what William Ruto wanted. And I'm a bit cautious on that because most of what people try to look into is that venye rais amesema. And it also brings the tone of Rigathi sending a signal that I am willing out, although asking to be left alone, I'm willing to spill the beans on what happened during his 2 years reign in Kenya Kwanza. Apart from those messages, I want us to look at the optics. I want us to leave the message and look at the optics. Someone will tell me we ought to have started there. No, but we start with the known before you go to unknown. So the known is the message. What did you see? And I started this podcast by telling you the scenes of current residents are not looking good. One for the optics, the tears. Not so good for the country. And the reason why I'm saying these tears are not good is the kind of posturing that William Ruto did in the run-up to 2022 general elections. And you will see videos of William Ruto in church crying, breaking down in tears, because he will say that Uhuru Kenyatta has betrayed him. The tears of the children, the tears of the wife, those optics are not good. And as I said, we can subject them to criticism. We can look at it at a second thought. But the elderly, our mothers back in the villages, look at it and they say, ameonewa in Kiswahili. Those tears, they're not good optics for William Ruto. And I know the only thing is how that will be sustained, because the timing is also early. I also made an observation. Rigathi Gachagua, while was in that press briefing, he was not accompanied by his lawyers, his legal team. None of them was there. What does that communicate? What does that indicate? I want to think, did they approve of that press briefing? Did Rigathi consult his lawyers before going to make that press briefing? I'm a bit skeptical about it. Because remember the press briefing that he did the other week on Monday, before he appeared in the National Assembly, it faced criticism from some quarters. Some people saying that Rigathi shot himself in the foot. Even this one, some people have been trying to say that. It's just, and I'm saying no one has a monopoly of advisory. No one has a monopoly of what is right or wrong. Everyone is just putting up his mind in this. I did not see his lawyers. Of course, they would have been given, I think, he gave an account of his sickness. I tend to think probably Paul Muite and the other lawyers would have communicated a bit about it if they were to be there. The second observation here is this. That press briefing took a bit long. 21 minutes for a man who had been hospitalized for 2 days is a bit too long. They would have made it brief. And when someone looks at the way Rigathi is strong, of course he has to be strong. Yes, he has to be. For the family, he has to be strong. Someone will cast some aspersions on his health status. And you know, I've seen UDA bloggers running in social media saying, amepona haraka aje. So I think that press briefing also took long. So even if it was organized on what, of course everything had been planned, they communicated to the journalist that he was going to be discharged and he was living in the hospital. There was something they wanted to communicate. Number 3, I saw few MPs around him. There would be an act of solidarity. I saw Kiambu Senator Karungo Dhangwa. I saw Kirinyaga Women Rep. But as I communicated, as I analyzed it early, is that quite a number of people that wanted to go hang around the Deputy President's bed were blocked. So that would have probably communicated what is going on. I did not see Azimio leaders there. I understand the Kalonzo Musyoka was actually in Kitui. Kalonzo spends more time in Kitui than any other place. I think even if he was to become a deputy president, he would still be impeached on such grounds. And kindly, no pun intended, for the son of Sekuro. Now, Rigathi left Karen in SUV, if you look at this, without a show of not having trappings of power. Of course, security had been withdrawn. I believe he had a better car than this one. This is not the car he has. He has his own personal car, Prados and the V8 and Range Rover. I know personally, I know Rigathi has a Range Rover. They decided not to go with opulence. And from what I am seeing, Rigathi is turning William Ruto's political matrix upside down. While he will project Ruto as a man who is the king and now is misusing the power, he tries to show, I have taken it, I have owned up. And if this is going to be my new life, then I am good for it. And the other observation I made is the tone. I tend to think, and I can see from Rigathi Gachagwa's tone, that he has thrown the towel. He has thrown the towel. Yes. And sometimes there is something called in, is it critical thinking? And it's called, if you want to avoid overthinking, then instead of course, instead of thinking of argumentum, thinking argumentum is arguing what is not happening, what is happening. Then you think with a lot of acceptance. From the situation you have, what can I accept first? Yes. You know, for example, when you are talking to a patient and you want to reveal a health status, probably you've found with probably some cancer or something, then you need to start with acceptance points. You have to accept this is here. You accept you have a family, you accept this, you accept you have a job, or probably now the job will be. There is a lot of acceptance. So I think it's a good place for Rigathi to start with an acceptance that this is the new life. So that for the rest of his life, he will not live on denial of what has happened with him. From Rigathi's speech, hey, I can look through his lips. I can listen through and see unnamed spies that were behind him being hounded out of government. And strictly, there are 3. They came from these 3 quarters, unnamed spies. 3 quarters. There is a clique of high-profile tender cartels in government that knocked him out. Let me tell you, during this time the impeachment was going on, a Adani deal was signed with Power Transmission, the Ministry of Energy. During this time, there was a court session on Adani takeover of JKIA. During this time, the Shah was rolled. And on Rigathi Gachagwa's impeachment, there was an attempt to drag his name in the mud of that mosquito net tender. I can say this. Like what Onyonka likes saying, that these people are fighting for the loot. One of the critical issues, and it happened, and the reason why I'm saying this is a cartel around it is this. One of the critical issues that were at the center of Ruto-Rigathi fallout was the rollout of, was it Mshwari? There was NCBA that was supposed to be part of it, and there was another bank, which now William Ruto was allegedly led to the other bank. And so there was a fallout on how it was rolled, and it is believed, and that is why from the day the president was sworn in, William Ruto, the first step he went for Safaricom and said that, I don't know, I'm sure it had to be, the rates had to be slashed. And someone said it is mutilation of businesses. So I can see from this, Rigathi Gachagua has been hounded out by these critical spies. It kills. Many a times you see stories in newspapers about people who disappear, about people who are told disappear for some time only to be told knocked in some accident or so. But 70% of such high profile deaths normally on tenders. The second quarter spy behind Rigathi ouster was the NIS. I think that speech from Mombasa during the Gen Z protest, where he attacked the NIS officials, it rubbed some people wrong way. And remember, it was part of his impeachment grounds. It really rubbed some people wrong way, and the security apparatus, the people in that space, believed Rigathi was not the right man for it. Do you know that after Gen Z protest, DCI, NIS were not touched? No one questioned them, only Rigathi. But the Inspector General of the Police was questioned. So, and then that is what Rigathi questioned, that why is it that the people that are supposed to give the country intel could not foresee? You know, that is a question that President Ruto doesn't want to entertain. Only Rigathi asked that question. So even speaking from this, if you listen to the poisoning story he's saying, he has attributed it to two. And as he seemed to have a grudge, even saying that when he was in the hospital, some people were calling and asking, is he dead? How is he? And they were hovering around. He spoke about it. The other quarter is William Ruto's political machineries. The machinery was whipped. Do you know when, just some 2 weeks ago, when Oscar Sudi tweeted saying, 14 days, the guy will be out of office. They were so sure about it. They were so sure about it. So there was a high probability that that quarter is there. Now, having listened to Rigathi, I think William Ruto have to really think through and find out how to handle Rigathi, because Rigathi has told the country about his safety. If he abducts himself tomorrow and forms a basis of him disappearing, the family comes out and says Rigathi has disappeared, what will happen? There is one factor you need also to think on the national security. And clearly what's happening, the way Rigathi is talking with the voice of regretting working with Ruto, this impeachment is right at the center of 2027 context. And William Ruto should ensure two things. That number one, Raila Odinga goes to African Union Commission. If Raila Odinga doesn't go to African Union and be part of the political matrix for 2027, things are not going to be very easy. And secondly, make sure Rigathi is safe. Just make sure Rigathi is safe, because he seemed to be out to carry constituency, and there is something that is happening. And it was easy to kick out Rigathi because Rigathi doesn't have a political constituency. Raila has a constituency. The things that were being done for Rigathi, if it was Raila doing it, would be another story. Ruto has a constituency. Uhuru had a constituency. Rigathi was just in the process of baking his own constituency, of making his own constituency. That's what I was talking about, the truthful man, who was talking about the villager when he was being attacked and all this and all that. So I think this was long overdue. To the best of my knowledge, Rigathi Gachagua should not even fight to go back to that office. He's already said about attempts of assassination. He's already spoken about the toxic environment in that office. And probably it is very, very important to look at this matter. I will once discuss about the office of the deputy president, because as a country, we must have a candid discussion. Within 10 years, we've had a toxic relationship between the president and his deputy just on that. Did 2010 constitution midwife, yes, it created an immunity. Did it create immunity on that office? And the fact that it gave us a ticket joined at the hip, is it really serving purpose for the office of the deputy president? We need to think through, so that why should a president always feel insecure of a deputy president? That is at the center of that discussion. I think as a country, as Rigathi goes home, the solution might not be, I've seen people asking now, Kindiki is here. Does Kindiki has the national image that some people are saying, because Rigathi was accused of being a Murima? Does Kindiki have it? No. He's just famous, but doesn't have that national acumen. So is the solution replacement? I think if Ruto will fall out with Kindiki, then maybe the country will happen to know the truth. Nothing but the truth. But for now, that is my take. Thank you. Let's meet in the next.